这就在立面手的对面。对。你朝着麦去先过来个，类似那个上海在你幼儿园在那个小小的插着，我们讲学在这插的。
来，赶紧朝着佛祖。
那已经太低了。来这样。
赶紧朝佛祖那里面两个。
呀，嘿，快来，
快点，来，
很慢嘛。
来。
哎呀，天，快点，这个揪了。哎呀，
A new bill in Indiana is seeking to replace a state law that protects religious freedom. State lawmakers will consider a proposal that would throw out the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, a law signed by Governor Mike Pence that bans any state law that would substantially burden a person's ability to follow his or her religious beliefs. The new proposed bill aims to protect 6 fundamental rights: the state constitutional rights to worship, religion, exercise of religion, speech, assembly, and to bear arms. Gay rights advocates argue the current law and the new bill allow discrimination against gays.
In God We Trust is the official motto of the United States, but many people object to that phrase for religious reasons. The Now's Lauren Wilson is in the newsroom. And Lauren, there's a group who wants the phrase removed from our currency.
Yeah, Dom. This is a 112-page lawsuit against the federal government by nearly 40 plaintiffs who are mostly atheists wanting the phrase removed from American cash. The lawsuit was filed Monday in a federal court in Akron and argues the phrase on our money violates the constitutional rights of those who do not believe in God. The unnamed parents and children listed as plaintiffs are from both Ohio and Michigan, including the Northern Ohio Free Thought Society of Cleveland, who told me they just want equality.
We're forced to sort of carry this message around of "In God We Trust" when we don't agree with it. Anything that has a promotion of God in it in the public arena, we feel is an endorsement of a religion by the government and therefore a violation of the First Amendment.
Now, the lead lawyer, Michael Newdow, he has sued the government twice before and lost a similar suit about removing the use of the phrase "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. So far in this case, a judge has not yet been assigned.
A French judge has charged a teenager with terrorism after he attacked a Jewish teacher with a machete. The 15-year-old Turkish Kurd hacked at the teacher who was walking on the streets of Marseille. He told police after his arrest that he acted in the name of the Islamic State. A Jewish leader in France is now advising fellow Jews to stop wearing their religious head covering as anti-Semitic attacks there are escalating.
Chloe Lapper is building her career and hoping to meet the right man. But as a trans woman, things can be complicated.
I don't understand how a guy can fancy you by your looks, but once they find out you're transgender, they don't fancy you and you look no different. And it's hard. It's like a battering each time. It's like a knock on the head.
It's been years since Chloe was male runway model Shane, but delays in treatment have meant her full transition is only just beginning.
I have not had any medical assistance whatsoever. I've had a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. Like I said, I've seen doctors since 2003. I've been sent from pillar to post.
It's a story Sue Shepherd has heard many times over the years. She now runs a fantasy shop in Folkestone, but worked as a taxi driver when she first transitioned, where her colleagues were less than supportive.
There was one chap who used to punch me and want me to punch him back. I think he was trying to man me up or something. Kids used to shout, open the door and shout tranny or something, and think it was a fun. And actually, I think now they're just used to us. It's changed a lot. I think as people are aware of it and grow up with it, it's no longer a shock horror thing.
Awareness has been steadily growing, not least because of trans women like Tara Hudson, detained in all-male prisons. She's now been released, but 3 others took their own lives. Now those are among the concerns being formally recognised by MPs for the first time.
People will be surprised when they read the report to see how many problems trans people still experience in their day-to-day lives with discrimination, not only coming from the way public services are provided and the way the law works, but also day-to-day discrimination by other members of the public.
In a statement, Equalities Minister Nicky Morgan said she recognised the discrimination trans people faced and would look carefully at the recommendations. The visibility of transgender people really reached a tipping point in the last year, with celebrities and new characters in TV dramas really bringing the community into the mainstream. But today's report is calling for measures that could affect us all, a change in the very recognition of gender as a binary concept, even introducing a new X category in our passports as a third choice between male and female. With a new generation of transgender people increasingly confident in demanding change across every sector of society, calls like that will be hard to ignore.
Tensions are rising in Germany's fourth largest city. Protesters took to the streets of Cologne over the weekend, furious about a string of shocking sexual assaults.
I am here today because we're all very sad about the things that happened here.
The attacks happened during New Year's celebrations in Cologne's main square, when hundreds of young men, reportedly of Arab and North African origin, attacked scores of women. More than 500 women have filed criminal complaints, 40% of them saying they were groped and molested by men. Cologne has been on edge since last Friday, when reports surfaced that refugees who recently arrived in the country were among the suspected attackers. Scores of women stood in front of this cathedral protesting sexual violence.
It is about making clear that we will not stop moving around freely and to protest against victim bashing and women being abused.
Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel is facing tremendous pressure after allowing more than 1 million refugees into the country in 2015. Over the weekend, some 2,000 anti-Muslim protesters also took to the streets, demanding that Germany closes its borders to refugees.
I am shaken by the events of New Year's Eve, but it is not only about that incident. What is happening at the moment in Germany is concerning. I am worried. I do not have the feeling that this is still my country.
A counter-demonstration defending refugees took place simultaneously in another part of the city.
We're upset and angry as women of the sexual violence that happened here in Cologne on New Year's Eve. But we're even more upset and angry that there are racists that are using this for their racist propaganda, because sexual violence is a global issue.
Chancellor Merkel's popularity has dropped since refusing to limit the number of refugees coming into Germany. Almost 3/4 of those polled in a recent survey say migration was the most important issue for the government to deal with this year. Merkel announced a plan Saturday making it easier to deport refugees who commit crimes, following the sexual assault attacks almost 2 weeks ago. George Thomas, CBN News. James McConnell is an Irish preacher who recently stood trial for controversial comments he made from the pulpit. In a sermon that was broadcast over the internet, he called Islam, quote, satanic. A prosecutor said that violated laws against hate speech and put him on trial. Last week, a judge ruled in Pastor McConnell's favor. He joins us now by Skype from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Pastor McConnell, tell us your reaction when you heard the not guilty verdict.
I was very happy and very pleased. If we had have lost this case, then your programs and the rest of every program throughout the United Kingdom and the United States would be under scrutiny by these people. There are faceless people in the world today who would suppress the gospel and would defeat God's people. And I was delighted when the judge pronounced me twice not guilty. I was so happy.
The fact that you were brought to trial for your comments is obviously troubling. What is the state of freedom of speech and freedom of religion in the UK?
Well, freedom of speech and freedom of religion is exactly the same as it is in the United States. And it was us that brought the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion.
A Muslim imam testified on your behalf at the trial. What impact did that have on you?
It had a wonderful impact. He's a lovely, lovely man. And he contacted me by phone 3 times. Then got a plane and come over and saw me. And he didn't want any money, didn't want any expenses. He came of his own free will and his own pocket. A lovely young man, But his attitude was, I had a right to say what I was saying, just as he has a right to say what he is saying, which we believe is free speech and freedom of thought.
You've said that you stand by your message, but you'd word it differently if you gave it again. What would you change and why?
I wouldn't change really anything. What I meant was, I believe that I was preaching this in the confines of my own church. I think you can see it. It's a large church, it seats 3,500, and I was preaching in the confines of my own church, but I didn't realize it would go out into the world and go out even into the north of Ireland. There are many Muslims in Northern Ireland who are decent people and kind people, and there's many who are not. And I just would like to emphasize that I didn't go out to hurt them. I was attacking the Muslim doctrine. I was attacking Islam, and I said Islam is satanic, and I still say it to this very day.
As Christians, how do we walk this fine line of speaking the truth about Islam while at the same time loving our Muslim neighbors?
Well, it's like the Lord Jesus. Didn't he look at the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the heads of the Jewish church? He called them hypocrites. He called them whited sepulchres. He called them vipers. He called them devils. He even said to the Pharisees, you would cross land and sea to convert a proselyte. And when you do that, you make him twice the child of hell that you are yourselves. So how did he draw the line? And so you've got to condemn sin, you've got to condemn idolatry, you've got to condemn false doctrine, but in your demeanor and manner, you've got to show people that you love them and you're willing to help them. And that's what Christ did.
Political correctness is being used to intimidate people and stifle free speech. What advice do you have for others who are facing the same pressure?
It's difficult advice to give. My advice would be mainly to God's people. My advice would be mainly to preachers who love the Lord Jesus passionately. And I would say to them, don't draw back. Take your stand for Christ. We have got to win the day. And there are powers in the United States and powers in Great Britain who are out to suppress this. We need to expose them and bring them to light and shame them.